Hey guys, I assure you this isn't clickbait. I'm simply trying to help all you fellow Astarion lovers out there to find the quickest way into his heart. So I just finished one of my last playthroughs of early access before the launch of BG3, and now I've got a pretty good feel of where everything stands. I also wanted to get a good idea of the path I'll be taking in my first full game and see if approval had been changed again for Astarion, since I noticed some major changes even back in patch 5. So I've been documenting all the approval points for him and testing to make sure they still work. Now granted, since this is pre-launch, there's no way for me to know if there won't be more changes once the game goes live, and if there are major changes to the approval from current EA dialogue, then I'll just have to make an updated guide. It's possible they might cut the approval significantly, especially if they plan to drag out the initial romance scene, but given I've been trying to keep from seeing any major spoilers, I have no way of knowing what we'll be dealing with. This is just going on the hopes that the EA portion of approval with Astarion will remain the same. As is, I'm able to get my approval with him ridiculously high, all the way up to exceptional, and that's without even stepping foot into the Underdark. Keep in mind, you have to be alright with making some pretty heinous decisions for maximum approval though. Even so, you can probably get away with only half of these choices and still manage to get him to sleep with you at the camp celebration. I've managed to get him in bed at medium approval in past games, but still I wanted to show the variety so that you could, find ways to increase approval even if you missed some options or don't have the immoral fiber to complete others. I'm also going to mention here that some of these clips are old from past recordings I've made, but I've verified that they all still work as of patch 9. One tip: having a high charisma score is going to help for all persuasion rolls, especially the one for getting him to tell you about his tadpole dream, and generally conniving your way through dialogue rolls, so figure good classes revolving around charisma would be best, like warlock, sorcerer, or a bard. But if worse comes to worse and you just have to play a wizard like I did or something else non-charisma based, then you can just save beforehand and scum it until you pass your rolls. I also want to add that there are some bonus approvals if you play an evil game and attack the Grove, but it's not necessary. I'm still going to include the options though. I also know it's 100% possible I'm going to miss some of these, considering they've changed a bit over the years, but the ones I'm going to share here will definitely get you into that sexy vampire's pants. So here we go. When you first come across Lae'zel captured by the tieflings near the old ruins, you can gain approval with Astarion in one of two ways. You can use the deception option to make the tieflings leave, and once they're gone, Lae'zel will demand you let her down, to which you should reply, "Say please." And of course, Astarion finds that hilarious. Alternately, you can choose option number 2, persuasion, to have them shoot down the trap once Lae'zel is free, agree to side with her by attacking the tieflings. You can only pick one, but either choice will net you the same approval. At the front entrance to the ruins, you can come across Gimbal and his friends arguing. Instead of trying to have a civilized conversation, just attack them. I'm pretty sure this is still working, but it is a little weird in whether or not it actually shows his approval or not. All of these are in the Druid Grove. There used to be a lot more, but many seem to not work all the time, so I've removed the unreliable ones. The first easy bit of approval is to simply let Arca shoot Saza in the prison by doing nothing. I will warn that this one seems to interfere a great deal with Gale liking you, so you might want to skip it if you want to romance him as well. You'll find Auntie Ethel nearby selling her potions. Let her fuss over you and eventually work up to telling her what's wrong by bluntly stating that you have a tadpole in your head. Apparently Astarion likes this bit of rash honesty. You'll also find the tiefling Lae'zel is looking for in the same corner where the prison is. His name is Zoru. Talk to him and make sure you pick the first option by saying yes, and I suggest you do as she says. Afterwards, there should be a follow-up quest with Lae'zel. Tell her that she is a dab hand at interrogations to get extra Astarion and Lae'zel approval. This next part is another one of those evil choices that many likely won't want to make. I even have trouble with it, even when doing runs where I'm strictly trying to get as much Astarion approval as possible. This also seems to impact the Gale romance from proceeding, as well, as he likes it when there's a happy ending to this quest. So when you get to the center of the grove, the tieflings are upset because a child has been taken captive by the newly elected head druid, Kaga, for trying to steal their idol. If you want this next set of approval, she is going to have to die. The best way to achieve this is to not do anything. The snake will bite her on its own if you don't get in the middle of it. Afterwards, talk to Kaga, and when she says that you think she's a monster, reply, "Not at all, that was quite a show." Next, go back outside and tell Arabella's parents that she'll be released soon. I'm not sure why this gains his approval. It could be because it's a dick move, or it could be because he actually feels bad about it and wants the parents to feel better, even if only temporarily. You can get even more approval out of Kaga if you follow the whole Shadow Druid quest line. If you want to start it, you have to go into Kaga's chambers and find the secret corridor. There is a chest in there that can be lockpicked to find documents that will ultimately lead you to a rendezvous point in the swamp where Kaga was leaving messages for the Shadow Druids. When you get to that point, you'll have to fight a bunch of mobs, but you'll find a letter that is proof that Kaga is in cahoots with them and you can bring it back. So now that you have it, you go back to the grove and confront Kaga about her betrayal. If you choose the option to fight her without trying to persuade her, you'll get Astarion approval. It says, "You seem intent on forcing me to take your life, so be it." Kaga is one of those people I really don't feel too bad about killing. The next one is another chance for approval that animal lovers are going to hate. Make sure you buy a potion of animal speaking from Volo before heading into the inner chamber. You'll find Nettie with a bluebird. Talk to the bird. Keep bugging the bird until it dies. This is yet another win for Astarion that Gale dislikes. Now follow Nettie into the back room. This is a bit tricky because you have to pick your dialogue just so. You basically have to tell her that you want help, but then you have to lie about not having any symptoms. I guess she doesn't feel as bad about killing you if you lie to her. Next, hold out your arm and let her scratch you with the poison. Now ask, "What in the hells have you done?" Then say, "Wait, you poisoned me?" And finally, you'll get the option to attack her, and this is the one you want to pick for your Astarion approval. Nettie is another one of those people I just didn't feel too bad about killing. On the path towards the Blighted Village, before the bridge, you'll come across a right turn where you'll encounter Edwin and his brother and sister. It is a good idea to make a quick save here because there are a lot of possibilities in terms of dialogue and a pretty tough set of rolls. Depending on what dialogue you want to see, it might be a good idea to dismiss your other companions temporarily. You can get 2 extra dialogue scenes with Astarion here, but oftentimes other companions will go instead. I'm hoping they fix this in the final version of the game, but for now I'm going to mention it just in case it's still a problem. Once talking to the sibling, using your Illithid wisdom is a good idea to basically gain complete control of the situation. When given the option, ask what happened to their brother, then tell them they need to find the beast and avenge their brother. If Shadowheart is in your party, she can have this dialogue. Choose to reply with swaying others just like that. Now there's an advantage we can't afford to ignore. Alternately, if you get the Astarion dialogue, when he talks about how much the powers can do for you, say, "Perhaps our tadpoles aren't all that bad." Now for the hard part, crushing the tadpole that comes out of Edwin's eye. When you click on Edwin, the tadpole will wriggle out, and it's really hard to crush this thing on certain classes. You have to pass 2 checks in a row to do it, though, since you're basically fighting off the Mind Flayer brainwashing. But anyone in your party will approve when you successfully crush it. If you're lucky enough to get the Astarion dialogue afterwards, or if you kicked out your other party members to make sure you did, when he talks about how Edwin had a tadpole in his skull, reply with, "His siblings practically worshipped us," for approval. Before you cross the bridge to the village, make sure you take a look at the boar in the road too, which is right near where you find Edwin and his siblings. You don't have to pass the checks, but you have to find the boar to trigger the Bite Night scene, which is also very important for approval. Now, cross the bridge to the Blighted Village. Head past the main entrance and around to the southern entrance to the town. There will be a goblin guard here who will try to shake you down once you get close enough to him. This has been kind of glitchy lately, but it has shown up several times for me as well. I figured I'd mention it because you'll eventually pass these guards anyway, so it doesn't hurt. Pick the first option to persuade the guard that it's a fine day and no need for killing. You don't need to have to pass the roll, it just seems that picking it is enough to get the approval to pop up. Once inside, find your way up north past the windmill and a gate to the big barn with a wagon out front. When you click on the door, there will be noises of an adult nature coming from within. Click the option to open the door, and if you're lucky, Astarion will be the one to interrupt you. Shadowheart can also butt in here and ask you not to disturb them, so it might be a good idea to leave her out of the party. In patches gone past, this was sometimes hard to get to trigger, so make a save if need be and keep trying until he offers to do it for you. Step aside and let him do it by saying please do the honors to get your approval. The dialogue afterwards can be tricky too. In my last patch 9 playthrough, I was lucky enough to get them both on the first try. Of course, when I went back to re-record it though, I couldn't get it to trigger. So it might not be a bad idea to make a quick save during the fight with the bugbear and the ogre, just in case it gives you trouble too. It might also have to do with approval. I think on my original playthrough, I had a higher approval with him, and when I came the second time, I only had medium, so that might be it too. But either way, I recall the dialogue might have changed slightly too since my original recording, the one I'm showing you here, but picking option 2 or 3 should net you a positive response. Just agree with him that it was funny or gross. In this case, I picked the option to scrub my eyes, which has been there for a while, but for some reason I'm thinking that they changed it the last time I saw it in patch 9. I just don't have the time to hunt it down, unfortunately. One thing that has not changed in quite a while is extorting the Deep Run gnome after saving him from the windmill and the goblins that put him there. Once you stop the windmill, by hitting the brake lever, talk to the gnome and let him down. After that, say, I freed you, a little compensation would be nice. Now it's on to the Hag Swamp, where you can get a whole boatload of approval. When you first enter the swamp, you'll find Auntie Ethel arguing with 2 men on the road. A lot of things can happen here, but in order to get the approval, we need the brothers to survive the encounter for now. Pick the option that says, Ethel, what did you do to their sister? She gets mad and teleports out. Then you can ask the brothers what's going on. When you get to talk again after their explanation, simply pick, you're on your own, I have enough problems. On your way to Ethel's tea house, you will find some sheep. Talk to one of them and you'll find something seems off about them. Pass an animal handling check in order to break the illusion, and you'll see the sheep for what it is, a red cap. And now all that's left is to baa at it for approval. Now on to the grr. The selection here has always been touchy. You have to say very specific things or you won't get the approval, or to the part that gets the approval. So to play it safe, here's how I do it. When Astarion walks in, say nothing and let him talk. Ask what monster he's hunting, then say, only a spawn? Pity, not like it's a real vampire. I love the way he replies here too, and that look. Next, pick, yes, they can creep right up on you, and then finally you can select, all right, kill him if you must, to get your approval and start the fight. I remember when I was first trying to get that way back, it was really difficult. Once you get into the hag's house, go down the stairs into her underground lair, past the gnarled door, and you'll find poor Lauren, who is suffering from the effects of some illusion magic. He won't make a lot of sense as you talk to him, but when you see the option to take a deep breath and roar, take it. It's pretty awful, but also pretty funny, and Astarion will think so too. After beating the hag's servants, you finally make it to the boss room, where Mayrina is trapped in the center. Make a hard save here before attempting the fight in case anything goes wrong. You want to save Mayrina in order to get maximum approval here. Have your whole party sneak in and send Astarion off to hit the orb to let Mayrina out of her cage. Send the rest out to start the fight. You want to get Ethel down to a very small amount of HP without killing her to trigger the scene where she begs for her life. She'll offer you something you want, and make sure you let her explain by saying go on. Ethel will trade you a boost in a stat for Mayrina and her own life. But now that she's told you what she has to offer, you can demand that she give you both Mayrina and the power. You get 3 different options and must pass a roll in order to succeed, and she's none too happy about it, but you walk away with a stat increase, Astarion approval, and more Astarion approval. Talk to Mayrina afterwards and she'll yell at you for saving her lousy ass. This will trigger her leaving and going outside to find Connor, her husband. Now go into the hag's room and collect a wand from the table. It's called Bitter Divorce. Head through the mushroom circle in the hag's room and it will bring you behind the house where you'll run into Mayrina again. Talk to her and pick the option that states, I found a wand, I think I can resurrect your husband. You can pick mostly what you want here, so long as it leads towards you giving the wand to Mayrina instead of taking it for yourself. Tell her, this is your husband, do you want him or not? And give her the wand to end the scene. Afterwards, Astarion will have a dialogue available. He says, it was never going to be a happy ending with a hag involved, to which you should reply, it was kind of funny though. This is probably my favorite Astarion response in the whole game. Next, I head into the Goblin Camp. When you enter the inner courtyard of the camp, you'll run into Volo. He sounds pretty awful, so it doesn't feel too bad to just boo him off the stage. Inside the temple, you'll find one of my favorite characters, Abdarak, a follower of Leviatar. He'll offer to work you over, and as if giving a hint that he approves, Astarion will usually pipe up that you better not say no. When you agree, you'll get your approval. Find your way next door to the Goblin Spike. He'll be torturing one of the guys who came in looking for the night song. Pick the option to volunteer to torture the man yourself. Now, these next ones are from the Evil game specifically, and I haven't tested them in a while. I'm adding them here just in case, though. You basically have to worm your way in with Minthara as a bad guy working for the Absolute. You will tell her the location of the grove, and then she'll ask you to open the gates for them from the inside. Just say, it shall be so, to get your approval. Now, head to the grove. When you get inside, Zevlar will be freaking out about how goblins are attacking. Pick any option first, and then pick with you. You misunderstand. I'm with them. These next ones are random and didn't fit into a specific location. Still, I thought they were worth mentioning. In the Underdark, when the dwarf merchant sends you out to find her husband, you come across him in the midst of a ton of bibberbane mushrooms. Carefully make your way out to him and tell him he's gotten himself into quite the predicament. Then tell him, this is your mess, figure it out yourself. There used to be a ton of approval in the Underdark, but I haven't played through it recently, and last I did play, nothing was working right. But this one still was. On the Risen Road, across the river from the Toll House, you'll find Karlach. She asks you to go after the men hunting her and to kill them. Just agree to help her, and Astarion approves. Now, all the rest of these scenes are at camp. I couldn't easily put them in order by location, and these scenes all tend to happen depending on what you've done in your day and how much you've used the Illithid powers. On the night when Gale gives the Ceramorphosis lecture, if you talk to Astarion afterwards, he will comment on it. You can only pick one way to get approval here, but there are many responses he likes. Choose a knife or poison out of the initially available options, or you can ask him how he would like to go. Following up that decapitation actually sounds good, will net you your approval, and if you really want to be an edgelord, you can even pick the try it and I'll spill your guts option, and afterwards pick if I die, I'll take you with me, and then you'll get your approval. When Raphael shows up to the camp, make sure you pick the option, you're mad if you think I'll make a deal with the devil. Everyone in your party will approve, which is a nice perk to this choice. Afterwards, talk to Astarion about the encounter. Pick, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it, and then we're not his playthings. After the second night of using your Illithid powers, the one after everyone is sick in camp, the next day everyone had a dream and is feeling better. Talk to Astarion about his dream and he'll lie to you. You'll have to pass a persuasion check to get him to tell you the truth. When you pass the check, he'll tell you about Cazador and you'll gain his approval. After finding the boar in the road, as I mentioned earlier, the bite night will occur where Astarion will attempt to bite your neck while you sleep. Regardless of what you pick early on, just allowing him to feed on you will net you some approval. The next morning you can talk to him in camp about the experience. At this point, everyone else in camp will realize that he's a vampire, and you have to pick the option that you trust him and he won't hurt us to gain approval. Right afterwards, you can talk to him again, picking the about last night option. Then ask him, I need to know how you'll feed in the future. He'll suggest that he can feed off bad guys, but no innocents. Say, sounds good, glad we could agree to get your approval. Depending on the order you found out about Cazador and Astarion's vampiness, this might be available now, or it might have been available earlier on, but you get the option to ask about Cazador. It's the one where he talks about being turned by him and how he was tormented. At the end, pick either I'll watch your back, don't worry, or you keep me safe and I'll do the same. He appreciates either response. After the third illithid dream, talk to Shadowheart about it. Tell her whatever you wish about your dream, and at the end say, the parasites have proved useful. It'd be foolish of us to just ignore that advantage. I think it's after the fourth illithid dream, but you know when you get this dialogue with Will afterward when he's basically asking you to stop using the powers. Pick the option, these powers are useful, I did what I felt was right, and don't expect any apologies from me. That is all I have cataloged for now. I know there are some others that are either too buggy to count on or that I just haven't tested recently to know if they still work or not. I wanted to get this together before the launch of the game though to help out anyone who wants to get on Astarion's good side. You don't need to do all of these obviously, but I wanted to show as many of them as I could. Please let me know of any chances I might have missed so I can add them to future guides, which I'll probably have to do eventually for the coming acts in the game, and especially if there are changes made at launch to the first act. The big thing you need to focus on to romance Astarion, though, is making sure you find out about his background with Cazador and being a vampire, and trying to get his approval up high without getting too much disapproval. If you follow the general rules of not offering to help people, well, unless they're people he can relate to, you can avoid getting too much disapproval. Just be a cranky butt who doesn't like to do anything nice. Try not to worry too much about making mean or evil choices because it will all be worth it once you've snagged the dreamiest companion ever to walk ARPG. Just hearing him call you lover,
hello, lover,
is enough to make it all worth it for me. So good luck, and I'll see y'all later.